way, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to set out to do that. And they've been paving the way for that for decades and decades. That's what the youth don't understand, is you can't just look at what's front and center right now. You have to take it as collectively as a whole from decades past, from presidential elects in the past. You have to take everything for what it is and not just look at what's in front of you today. And sadly, the youth has been bribed,
right,
so to speak.
Right.
They've been bribed with free healthcare, free college, high minimum wage. It's bribery at its finest, and it's pretty sad that this is where we are. But, my only hopes as a starch Republican is that this socialist agenda lasts 4 years, and during the 4 years, they push it as hard as they can, and the bottom falls out of it like I think that it will within 2 years, and then the people can see it. And then the next election, we know what not to do. You don't vote for these people. That's the only hope that I can have at this point.
Right. And I think a lot, we've seen a lot of Obama here lately, and I can't figure out how in the last couple of months we've seen Obama more in the last few months than we've seen him in 8 years that he was president.
Right.
And that just goes back to the thing that, he set his ass up in the White House, didn't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but right now we're seeing him and he's running around and he's running his mouth about President Trump and he's doing this and he's doing that.
Well,
like
he's going to make
said,
huge money off this.
Right. Like I said, he just needs to go crawl up under a fucking rock somewhere and shut the fuck up, because realistically, he's on here and he's talking about inequality and shit. You want to talk about inequality? I'm going to throw this one down here before we get out of here, but inequality in America is the fact that we as Americans cannot go out on the streets and protest peacefully as Republicans without Antifa and BLM and all these far left groups beating somebody up, stabbing somebody, cutting somebody up. And then they have the Democrats and the socialists have this whole thing of how they holler racism.
Right.
So you're telling me that all these white people and African-American Republicans that are getting beat up and knocked down and their teeth knocked out and they try to set them on fire, and so there's some equality to that. There's some right to that. And then Joe Biden has the audacity to say white supremacy when it's their Antifa groups.
He's calling for unity.
Right. He's calling for unity, and he's supposed to be the guy that brings the blacks and the whites together in America and brings in the Hispanic population, and we're supposed to be one big happy melting pot. But realistically, think about
everybody
this.
but the white supremacist. If you're white, you don't belong.
If you're a
here.
white supremacist, you don't belong here. And from the Democratic Party and the Socialist side, if you are white, hardworking in America, you're a supremacist.
Exactly.
And that's the way they see it. The people that actually keep America going, the backbone of this fucking country, is being labeled as white supremacists.
Well, it's not just.
And the kicker to it is when you watch this stuff, they're saying, oh, white supremacist, but you have Antifa and BLM activists beating up these people that are supposed to be white supremacists. And the people doing the beating, when you watch the news, you watch it on YouTube, you watch it anywhere, are the black Americans doing the beating.
Well, what's sad is pretty soon there'll be as many black and Hispanic people being called white supremacists.
Right. Right.
It won't just be white. You'll be called a racial supremacist or something.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people who realize that the color of your skin isn't the real issue here.
Right.
It's politics. It's how they perceive the future. It has nothing to do with the color of our skin. It never has. So what are they going to do when races unite and they try to stand up together? What are they going to call them then? Just supremacists?
Right.
Racial supremacists? It's crazy.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, all of it doesn't. I mean, these, what were these ballot machines called again?
Oh, Dominion.
The Dominion ballot machine. They have proven now that they actually had a software made and stuck into these machines, and it's not just a conspiracy theory.
Voting system.
Right. It's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, but you can, there's a lot of outlets, media outlets that tell you about this. And, I'm a big believer in Alex Jones.
Sure.
I like Alex Jones. I mean, he kind of sounds kooky and crazy and shit like that, but you need to listen to Alex Jones because he's right 99% of the time. And just like Alex Jones said, they brought in these specific machines and actually had them programmed so that they swapped names.
Right.
And the funny thing was, like Alex Jones said, and it makes too much fucking sense, were they not smart enough to change the votes so that the Democrat House seats got filled by Democrats? They didn't even do it good enough to make it look right. Because
the left
the
has
Democrats
never had a plan.
Right.
They don't have a good enough plan.
The Democrats lost seats to Republicans,
right?
But it went to a Democrat president.
Right?
I mean, people need to really think about this stuff before they start hollering it's a conspiracy theory and all this crap, because they didn't even rig their election correctly. That is just stupidity.
Right.
Why would you bring in a Democratic president with a Republican House?
Well, it's, again, it gives me chills when we talk about how it's rigged, and we know it's rigged. It needs to stop.
Right.
The fraudulent election process in this country needs to come to an end, and it needs to come to an end now.
Oh, I agree 100%.
If at all possible.
And on that note, everybody just needs to think about it and stand together. And I mean, even if you don't like, President Trump, everybody needs to stand with him right now, because he's trying to make sure that not just this election, but future elections are just and fair in this country. So before anybody goes down on him and, and starts screaming about, he's this and he's that and he's some kind of supreme, white supremacist, and all this, they need to think about what good he's done for the country over the last 4 years.
Give him the praises,
give them the praises. He is our president. And even if you don't like him, I mean, realistically, he was voted in honestly.
Yes.
Not like Joe Biden. So, but anyway, that's just a food thought. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.